Born on the 9th of January in the year 1960, Severus Snape grew up in the fictional town of Cokeworth, England, on the street of Spinner's End. Snape was an only child and son to a witch named Eileen Prince and a muggle named Tobias Snape. Much like Harry Potter himself, Severus grew up in an abusive household where he would be treated poorly and given clothes that were tattered and did not fit him well at all. On this same topic, he would have to deal with his father mentally and emotionally abusing his mother, and as many believe, even physically assaulting her on occasion, all while his mother neglected him. This caused Severus to despise his parents, especially his father, and resulted in him leaving the house as often as he could. It is also a plausible explanation as to why he was bitter later in his life, as one may expect. However, on one evening, Severus would finally make a friend in Lily Evans, later on known as Lily Potter. Lily lived very close to Snape, and the two of them bonded early on, discussing their magical aptitude with one another. Severus would begin to develop feelings for the girl, but Lily insisted on remaining good friends with him instead, as she did not feel the same about him. Lily's sister, Petunia, would eventually meet Snape, and the two of them would detest each other, with Petunia insulting him and making fun of his frayed clothing, referring to him as a freak. What's more, Petunia would also harass him regarding his social skills or lack thereof. In fact, once he turned 11 in the year 1971 and attended Hogwarts, which of course thrilled him as he wanted nothing more but to leave his parents, Snape would start his first day off by sitting next to Lily on the train. However, things would go awry as he would make his first encounter with James Potter and Sirius Black. All three parties would disagree with one another concerning the houses they would be sorted into once they arrived at the school, which ultimately began the path of animosity between Snape and the Marauders. As soon as they arrived at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, Severus would be sorted into Slytherin House, while Lily would be sorted into Gryffindor with James. As time passed, Severus would surpass many of his fellow students, particularly in Potions class, with Horace Slughorn as the Potions Master, and especially in defense against the dark arts. In fact, he studied and practiced more spells, hexes, and curses than an overwhelming majority of the 7th year students. Furthermore, Snape would pioneer a plethora of spells, including Levi Corpus, Muffliato, and many more, with his most popular being a barbaric curse known as Sectumsempra. In his younger years, he would additionally make friends with many future Death Eaters such as Lucius Malfoy, who happened to be a prefect during Snape's first year, and Bellatrix Lestrange Black. Lucius and Snape would become very close friends, and as we see in The Half-Blood Prince, Lucius and Narcissa would trust Snape so much that they entrust the safety of their own son, Draco, to Severus, while Draco fulfills his mission of killing Dumbledore, given to him by Lord Voldemort himself. Interestingly enough, this also seems to be the reason as to why he would favor Draco over any other student when he started teaching in his later years. Anyhow, as the years passed, tensions between Severus and the Marauders, especially James, were at an all-time high, as James hated how introverted and academic Snape was, while Snape loathed how annoying, conceited, athletic, and popular James was. To make matters worse, the both of them had feelings for Lily, and that was also enough to cause resentment between the two wizards. On the subject of Lily, Snape's biggest regret would be accidentally referring to her as a mudblood, an insult in the wizarding world, essentially translating to dirty blood, or those who were not pureblood wizards. This would occur down by the Black Lake after a livid Severus chastises James when he levitates Snape in the air and humiliates him by showing everyone present his underwear. On another occasion, Snape would follow Remus Lupin to the Whomping Willow all the way to the Shrieking Shack after he became suspicious of Lupin being a werewolf due to his disappearances during full moons. As a prank, Sirius would be the one to inform him on where Remus was going when he departed from the castle, and if not for James, Severus would have been killed or seriously mangled by werewolf Lupin, as he had no control during the transformation. Snape, however, remained bitter towards James, and even more so after James married Lily later on. In his last few years of learning at Hogwarts, Severus would add notes to his potions book regarding altered and improved recipes for the potions he was brewing in class, and new spells that he developed himself. This book, as many of you are likely aware, is the very same book Harry would find and use during his 6th year before he discovers the identity of its author, the Half-Blood Prince. After his years of education, Severus Snape would join Voldemort and become a Death Eater alongside many of his Slytherin colleagues and friends. He served as a spy for the Dark Lord, and in the year 1980, Severus would secretly overhear Professors Dumbledore and Trelawney discuss the prophecy foretelling of the Dark Lord's demise at the hands of a child born in July. This is, of course, a reference to the boy who lived, Harry Potter. although there was initially some confusion as Neville Longbottom was also born around that time. Moving on, in the year 1981, Severus begins working as a double agent for Albus Dumbledore and becomes the potions master at Hogwarts, despite his desire for teaching defense against the dark arts. All this is so Severus can quietly watch over Harry once he starts at Hogwarts, as he could not bear to see Lily's son in harm's way, although he would treat the boy unfairly as a way of getting back at James. On a similar note, he would beg Voldemort to spare Lily, and to his surprise, he agrees not to lay a finger on her. However, Snape doesn't quite trust him, and rightfully so, therefore he decides to implore Dumbledore to hide Lily and keep her and Harry safe no matter what. Dumbledore grants him his wish at the cost of Snape spying on the Death Eaters, but regardless of Dumbledore's attempts to hide the Potter family, Peter Pettigrew betrays the Order of the Phoenix, eventually revealing the location of James, Lily, and their newborn Harry to Voldemort. Snape would find Lily dead on the floor of her home under Harry's crib and sit there holding her lifeless body in tears. Severus was shattered by this outcome, but continued on to ensure that Harry would remain protected for the sake of Lily's memory and as a way to honor her passing. Severus would spend the remainder of his life protecting her child, however he would typically take his hatred of James out on the boy who was always told he looked just like his father. Some wizards were skeptical of Snape's true allegiance, however Albus Dumbledore would convince the Wizengamot that Severus was on their side and not Lord Voldemort's. Something I want to mention quickly as well is the fact that many students, and even some adults, believed that Snape was denied the right to teach defense against the dark arts because it was thought that he would completely return to Voldemort, but in reality, Dumbledore was aware that the Dark Lord jinxed the position. This brings us to the year 1991, the year Harry Potter arrives at Hogwarts. Harry would be in Snape's potions class, and Severus would scold him every moment he could, not only for the aforementioned reason regarding his father, but also because if he did not, it would make him look suspicious to those who may be spying on him. Harry's first year happens to be the year Dumbledore obtains the Sorcerer's Stone and locks it away safely in the castle of Hogwarts. Harry and his friends, Ron Weasley and Hermione Granger, become suspicious of Snape, believing he wants to steal the stone for himself or for Voldemort. In reality, however, as they would come to discover, Snape was actually one of the professors protecting the stone, and it was actually Professor Quirrell who was trying to take the stone for Voldemort. In Harry's third year, he and his friends would learn of Sirius Black, who was framed for the betrayal of the Potters and thought to be a Death Eater, and how he was on his way to Hogwarts. In this same year, Severus would help Remus Lupin with relieving his werewolf symptoms by creating an elixir called the Wolfsbane Potion. In the later events of this year, after tracking Black and Lupin down to the Shrieking Shack, Harry would discover that Sirius is his godfather, and that he is actually innocent of all the crimes he was convicted of. Furthermore, he unearths the identity of the one who truly betrayed the Potters, the man who disguised as Ron's rat Scabbers, Peter Pettigrew. Snape interrupts the discussion and disarms Lupin, who is vehemently defending Sirius, and tries to figure out what's going on. However, to his bewilderment, Snape is disarmed by Harry, who wants to find out more. That said, shortly after, when Harry and his friends encounter danger after Lupin leaves the shack and turns into a werewolf under the full moon, Snape regains consciousness and jumps in to guard Harry and his friends from harm. After Sirius pushes back Lupin, Snape attempts to lead the students back to the castle, but Harry runs off in pursuit of Remus and Sirius. Due to his strong dislike of Sirius and the rest of the Marauders, Snape tries to have Sirius put to death via the Dementors. However, his plan ultimately fails after Dumbledore sends Harry and Hermione to alter the future and save both Sirius Black and Buckbeak the Hippogriff, 2 innocent lives. During the Triwizard Tournament in the year 1994, exactly 1 year later, Severus discovers that many potion ingredients in his personal store are missing. He blames this on Harry, however at the end of the year, we learn that it was actually Barty Crouch Jr. using the ingredients to create Polyjuice potions to transform into Aleister Moody as a disguise to lead Harry to Voldemort. In the Order of the Phoenix, Harry's 5th year, Snape is revealed as one of the members of the Order, and Dumbledore tells Harry to trust Severus, despite the bad blood between the two. Later on in the year, Harry begins having more visions of Voldemort, resulting in Snape attempting to teach Harry occlumency in order to sever the connection between him and the Dark Lord. Though, due to the pair not getting along, the brief sessions they had ended up completely ceasing. There was one moment, however, where Harry peeks into the Pensieve after Snape leaves the room in the books and breaches Snape's mind in the films. In either case, Potter would observe a private memory of Severus being bullied by Harry's father, James. After this event, Snape becomes livid and bans Harry from ever entering his office office and treats Harry even worse than usual, although mostly ignoring him the rest of the year. This is, however, until Dolores Umbridge interrogates Harry on the location of Albus Dumbledore after he is relieved from duty as headmaster for the remainder of the year. She asks Snape for Veritaserum to pressure Harry into telling the truth and sharing the whereabouts of Dumbledore. Snape lies and tells her that his stock is depleted, in spite of the fact that he was never truly giving her real Veritaserum prior. Harry secretly attempts an effort at sharing an abstruse message regarding his vision of Sirius Black's capture at the Ministry of Magic. After acting as though he didn't understand, in order to throw off Umbridge, Severus would share this message with every other member of the Order and help devise a strategy for them to aid Sirius in the Department of Mysteries. However, this would turn out to be a trick by the Death Eaters and Voldemort, who didn't actually have Sirius in custody, but Black would be killed after joining the battle to help Harry and his friends after they were surrounded by the Death Eaters who were waiting at the Ministry for them. Despite Snape's attempts at helping Harry and not being the direct reason for his godfather's death, Harry began to detest Snape even more. In fact, he would start to hate him more than anything after Snape kills Dumbledore in his 6th year. After Snape spent the whole year protecting Draco, bound by an unbreakable vow he and Draco's mother made, Snape would do what Dumbledore ordered, and that was to kill him. This would allow Severus to acquire the complete and utter trust of Lord Voldemort, not to mention the fact that Snape was actually putting Dumbledore out of his misery, as Albus didn't have much time left due to the effects of Marvolo Gaunt's ring, a jinxed Horcrux belonging to Voldemort that Dumbledore managed to destroy, but at the cost of his life. Of course, Harry was not aware of this until later on, and the fact that Severus killed the man Harry looked up to and took his place as headmaster of Hogwarts made Harry irate in the moment. Even so, in due time, after learning of the true intentions and bravery of Severus Snape at the end of his 7th year, during the Battle of Hogwarts, and during Snape's death at the hands of Voldemort and his snake, Nagini, Harry begins to admire the man who indirectly helped him destroy the Horcruxes, and the man who sacrificed himself for the greater good, and out of love for Harry, and especially his mother, Lily. For you see, it was Severus Snape's dedication and care that greatly supported Harry Potter in his quest that truly defeated the Dark Lord. His dedication to the double agent role he played, and his sincere amount of care for Harry and Lily led to Snape's Patronus taking the same shape as his lovers, that being the doe, emblematic of his deep affection for Lily. His last wish was of purely good intention, as he wanted to glance into the eyes of Harry, and in turn, the eyes of the woman he loved so dearly. Snape has always cared for Harry, Lily's son, and this is why the mission to destroy all the evil in the world succeeded. This is why Severus Snape is one of the most, if not the most, fundamental characters in the entire magical story of Harry Potter. Anyhow, hope you all have a great day. See ya.